Hey everyone, it's me, Ari Dawson Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel, check my novels on Amazon, and please donate the links below. There is one thing you need to stop doing, and I'm about to tell you what it is. If you weren't doing this, then this message is not for you. It doesn't apply to you. But many of you are still doing this, and I'm telling you, it may cost you your life. It may cost you your health, may cost you your family, cost you your future, and may even cause collateral damage to those around you. So listen well. When someone does not want to admit that they've been neglected or wasted by those close to them, and if they get upset with you calling it out plainly and openly, I'm telling you, begin to withdraw yourself from this individual. That's what you should be doing. Now, of course, you need to use wisdom. Maybe if you were a bit insensitive with your vocabulary, maybe that's what upset people more than you actually calling out. If that's the case, then adjust your vocabulary just a little bit. I'm not telling you to submit to societal restrictions and to be blackmailed by society, but just be a bit sensitive with your words. However, it doesn't matter how sensitive you are with your words, how smooth your talk is. And at the end of the day, if someone has been neglected and wasted by those close to them, there's no way to admit or acknowledge this without feeling uncomfortable. And you know what? Feeling uncomfortable in this case is healthy because it's not a good situation. If someone, however, gets upset with you for calling out the obvious, or they begin to question whether you have the right or quote unquote authority to interfere or to call these things out because it's none of your business, whatever. Listen, when violence occurs, when harm happens, it needs to be called out, especially if it's done by those close to you who should be treating you better. So people that are around have all the right to intervene and stop it because it shouldn't happen. Even the laws of the land approve of this. So if anyone is in a bad situation and they're being neglected or even wasted by those around them, whether it's their friends or family or other people close to them, I'm telling you, if that individual is not owning up to reality and facing what's happened to him or her, I'm telling you, get away from this individual. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you the science of why you need to get away from this individual. Because this individual, first of all, they're putting themselves in danger. If the people around you are failing you, it needs to be addressed. Now, if people are doing their best to the best of their ability for you, and they still have shortcomings, so what? You can overlook the shortcomings. They're at least doing the best they can. But if people are just wasting you or neglecting you like you don't even matter, or they always make excuses when they have to report towards you, but at the same time, they're narcissistically attacking you when they feel like you failed them, I'm telling you, that's a dangerous situation. You should even want to be in a situation like that. You should want to get as far away from such people and such situations as possible. The fact an individual doesn't want to admit, they don't acknowledge how bad the situation is, that alone is a horror story. It's worse than the fact of being neglected or wasted. It's worse than that. It's bad enough to be neglected or wasted. What's worse is they enable and participate in themselves being victimized because they won't admit the situation. At some point, you cease being a victim and you're a collaborator of the same situation that harms you. And a lot of people become collaborators in situations that harm them. Other people out there were actual victims, of course. It's not only children can be victimized, adults can be victimized too. Thing is, once you're victimized or once you've been harmed and you're still alive, you have the option to admit it, acknowledge it, and move on. And so that you can recover. Going to denial, which you should not be doing, will only keep you in a bad situation, and that will lead to you being further damaged and those around you being further damaged too. Simple as that. So you don't have any choice, you don't have any option. You have to admit it, acknowledge it, Move on so you can recover. You have the obligation to leave the bad situation. Now listen to me very well. If anyone you know does not want to admit nor acknowledge the bad situation they're in, or if they kind of get upset with you for calling out something that's disturbing, even though we're 100% correct, you're 100% right about it, listen, something's wrong with them. They should be upset with the thing that happened. That's what they should be upset with. And they should be upset with the people that facilitate it to happen, not with you calling it out. Listen, if you encounter someone like this, I'm telling you one thing. Move away from them. Especially if they are a believer, because believers shouldn't behave in such disgraceful ways. Because if you keep an individual like that around you, they don't even care enough about their own well-being. You think they don't care about your well-being? No, they will not. They are allowing harm to happen to them. So automatically, they will also allow harm to happen to you. And people like this, at the end of the day, if they see an opportunity and not having to face anything, but just put someone else at risk, they will most likely do it. Not all of them, they will most likely do it. In any case, an individual like this also attract toxic people who are used to mistreating them. Toxic people, when they get used to mistreating you, they will keep coming towards you because they're addicted to mistreating you. So someone that won't admit nor acknowledge the bad situation they are now in bondage to all these toxic and wasteful people who are taking advantage of them. So if you keep an individual like that around you, all those leeches that were abused them will also end up harming you. And let me tell you one thing. This is one of the reasons why a lot of you don't have breakthroughs. This is another reason why a lot of you don't move on. This is a reason why a lot of you remain backwards. Because you keep the wrong people close to you. Keeping one wrong individual close to you, I'm telling you, that has more effect than keeping 100 people around you who are good for you. That one individual that's bad for you, their block will have more effect on you than you have 100 or even 1,000 people around you who are good for you. You need to stay away from those who are not good for you. So, listen. Let's say now someone's divorced, and their ex-wife was a horrible human being. Completely horrible. And thing is, their ex-wife was not only horrible to that man, but also everyone around. She was horrible. She's been horrible towards everyone. Let's say one day someone calls out how horrible she was. And the ex-husband says, well, I don't really like how you talk about her. I'm not really okay with that. I'm really a bit upset about it. You think people are going to excuse that? They will say, okay, sir, she was your ex-wife. She was your wife. She's your ex-wife. That you're not over her yet, that's up to you. But don't make us be delusional with you just because you want to own up to what you were married to. You chose to marry her. You should have known what you got yourself involved with. And you chose to hang on with her knowing she was bad news. You got damaged because of it. We can't help that. However, she was only wrong towards you. She was wrong towards other people too. And we objectively have a right to admit reality and acknowledge reality for what it is. We should. We're not going to go into toxic denial just to please you and therefore harm ourselves too. So we're not going to do that. I mean, let's say now that, one of your children or one of your nephews, someone close to you, is in prison because they committed several felonies. Let's say when they leave prison. Are you going to be upset anytime they're called a felon? Because you don't want to hear that? Because, listen, no judge, no police officer, no courthouse is going to care about how you feel about it. Fact is, this guy is, or this woman is a felon. They committed harm to the community. They went to prison for it. They're out now. They can start over, but nevertheless, this happened. If you don't want to hear it, that's a problem you have to deal with. Look, I don't care if someone is alive or deceased. If they were not good for you and they left you with nothing, just admit it. Just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it and act on it. I don't care how painful it is. You need to accept it for what it is. And do not make others comply with you in denial. If you say in denial, that's your fault. We can't help that. That's what you're doing. But please keep the harm to yourself. Okay, listen. As believers, we need to stop catering to people who remain in toxic denial. We have to stop doing that. Look, it's one thing if there is a funeral upcoming and the individual who passed away was a horrible human being, but you know what? We're not going to talk about it right now. There's a funeral, people need to process it. But 1 year after the funeral, come on now. 10 years after the funeral? 20 years? What? Okay. Some things are painful to admit, let alone acknowledge. So you're sensitive with other people with that, but you're not so sensitive that you end up joining them in their denial. You know what's worse? There are people out there that will threaten violence on you if you call out the bullshit of some of the people they consider their loved ones or relatives. Look, if I have a relative who's a horrible and wasteful human being and they don't want to change, and they're causing all this damage everywhere, look, it doesn't matter how sensitive and considerate people are towards me. The way I feel does not change the fact that his relative is a wasteful and harmful human being. So am I going to defend the relative's reputation at all costs? No, because I would now be facilitating his or her wrongdoing. I don't do that. Okay, if people want to use that fact for slander or all types of other negative stuff, okay, I could be against that. But I'm not going to be against people admitting this is what an individual is. If I don't want to hear it, then issues with me. But you know there are people in the world, when you call out the bullshit and the harm of some people that they consider close to them or they consider important to them, they come after you, want to threaten you, even physically assault you, make life hard for you. Much of the respect and politeness rules we have in society are based on making people feel comfortable, actually when they shouldn't be comfortable. If you're uncomfortable with someone else's conduct or you're uncomfortable with the history, good. Be uncomfortable. That will force you to be a better human being today. If the history is not you, but the history of someone else, be more happier. That means you can learn from their mistakes and their wrongdoings so that you will not be like them. Any human being who is still invested in a past that never happened, they are invested in tragedy. If an individual, whether deceased or still alive, if they were deceased and they were wasteful and neglectful and they left a lot of collateral damage behind, or if they're still alive and now they're alive, they're wasteful and neglectful, listen, the reality is that's what they are. Or if they've passed away, that's what they were. If you want to hold on to a beautiful image of theirs, or if you don't want to hear the fact of what they really were, what they really are, that means you want a report of something that never happens. You want to hear, well, he or she was a great individual, or this individual, well, they're not bad. He's not a bad man. He just needs some deliverance, or they're not all that bad. Whatever. You want to have a beautiful report based on a history that never happened. So that report is a hoax. It's a total hoax. So because you don't own up to the reality, you cannot process the past nor become better today. That means you're stuck in a loop of negativity. You're stuck in a loop of backwardness. You're stuck in a cycle of violence. So you're invested in tragedy. And I'm telling you, there are quite some people out there invested in tragedy. Can we change these people for the better? No, we cannot. We can pray for them. We can push them for better, assist them in better, facilitate better for them. At the end of the day, they have decided, I want to be better. We can't do that for them. So you can't change for the better. What you should do better, what you can do better is how you relate to them. If someone is invested in tragedy, listen, let them stay with the tragedy. The Heavenly Father did not call you to carry that tragedy. They shouldn't be carrying a tragedy, because their tragedy is only there because of what they hold on to and what they refuse to give up. So do not carry a burden the Heavenly Father didn't give you. Now, you have the burden of Christ to love your neighbor as yourself, look after other people, all of that. So the whole idea that you shouldn't owe anyone anything is bullshit. We owe each other the walk in love. We do. Absolutely. What we do not owe one another is to carry each other's waste. We shouldn't have waste to begin with. So if someone else is invested in tragedy, they are in violation against Heavenly Father. They're in violation towards the rest of the human species. They're in violation towards themselves. They're just plainly wrong, and they have to repent. They don't have an option or a choice. They don't have a right or to be negative or to be invested in tragedy. They have to give it up because they're harming both themselves and other people. It's not okay. We shouldn't condone it. So if someone's invested in tragedy, let them stay with the tragedy. You move on. Well, that's it for now. Keep on growing with Christ. Be at peace. Hit the like button and share this video. Don't the links below. Check on Amazon and see you next time.